You're watching Upfront on the Joy News channel with me, Blessed Suga. There's no doubt that the New Patriotic Party, as the main opposition political party in the country, is set to hold its National Delegates Conference later for July 18. It will be a two-day period ending on the 20th of July this year, which is happening in a few days from now. Key on that agenda is the reorganization of the party, which is starting with the presidential primaries first, and is starting in 2026. Opinions remain divided as to whether or not that will be the best approach for the party's reorganization, with the likes of the former president John Ajay Kufuor also raising his concerns and asking the party to close their ranks and to respect the base of the NPP, which is its grassroots. And we give you a rundown of some of the key events that have happened ever since that announcement came from the political party. So there you have it on the screens, giving you a sense of the timelines. But we start with the main names that we've heard so far declaring their intentions. You have them on the screens. The former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on your screens there, indicating clearly that he will be in the race. Then you have Kennedy Ejapon, who's also come out publicly to indicate that he will be in that race as well. So he's on the screens. You have Brian Achampong doing a live broadcast and indicating as well that he'll be throwing his hat in the ring. And the former Education Minister, Yao Sayed-Duchum, has also given clear indications that he will be running for the top spot of the NPP. So what are the timelines that we're dealing with? July 2025, as I was indicating, from July 10 or 18th, I should say, to the 20th, that's when the party intends to go for its national conference. Then you have the process continuing for the presidential primaries coming up on January 1st, 2026, as scheduled. For now, we're not too sure if at the National Delegates Conference, perhaps some changes may be considered by the party. But as of today, of course, no other communication has come through from the New Patriotic Party. Let's give you a historical sense of the trend of the New Patriotic Party and their presidential primaries. You have the highest approval rating going in for former President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo in 2014, where he polled 94% of the endorsements. But ever since, you've had almost all of the candidates ranging between 64 as the next highest for former President John Ajay Kufuor in 1998, as opposed to that of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, which he polled before going into the 2024 race with 61%. So that's been the historical, trajectory of the NPP, with Professor Edward Boying starting there with 56%. But this is the result that was striking before the 2024 elections, with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia coming on top with 61% of delegates endorsing him for the 2024 elections. Kennedy Ejapon, who's also declared his intention to run for the race, is also in the mix, but had only 37% in the last polls. Then you have the other two, Dr. Efriye and Engineer Francis Addai-Nimoh, in the mix there, also coming through with other percentage points. So here's a sense of the college as well, and those will be making that key decision when the party goes for that conference later this month. The National Council, the regional constituency and polling executives will be there. You would have the current and past national executives, as well as the MPs, ministers, and MMDCs. Obviously, some of them may be out, basically because the party is no longer in power. But that album would also include some more people, because you need to know about the full composition of the album that we're talking about. So beyond that, you have the Council of Elders as well, the patrons, TESCON, and you have founding members and the electoral coordinators as parts of the process. So a broad-based party, you would want to call it, but some more reforms are being pushed for so that the NPP considers extending or expanding this electoral college that we are looking at. But this is where the NPP stands as of today, 2024, being the last elections that was ever held. They've gone down the lowest since 1996, because ever since then, the party has never performed this abysmal way, if you want to compare the track record as you have it on your screens, with the party polling 41.75%, as opposed to the lowest they've ever had since 1996, when the party came close with some 39.60%. And of course, some would discount that, saying it was during an era where, of course, the elections were fiercely and its outcomes were fiercely contested. So there you have it, 41.75% was the votes that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was able to garner for the NPP. But for now, the presidents that we have is President Kufuor and President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, who are the best bet for the NPP. But in terms of how many times they lost, former President John Ajay Kufuor only lost once. Then you have Nana Addo Akufo-Addo losing twice, a reason for which Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says, well, you have to give me a second chance to lead the NPP. But it's giving us a sense of what's likely to happen, because already we're getting a poll which is out and released by Global Info Analytics, a polling agency which says that it has a sense of what some Ghanaians think about the exercise that's about to happen. And just look at the ranking that they've done based on some names they've heard, including Patrick Boama, who's not necessarily declared his interest. The lead on that list again is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for them, which is leading in terms of his camp, and of course that ticket leading with 52.6%, according to the polls that were released by Global Info Analytics. If that's anything to go by, then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia may be in the lead, as opposed to Kennedy Japan, whose votes may drop down, according to the projection by Global Info Analytics, to some 23.3%. We're not sure if they're basing this on delegates' decision or an entire broad-based decision. We'll wait to see what will be the outcome when the NPP goes for the polls in 2026, January 31st. That's the date. But there's one man of interest. He's featuring on this list, except to say that he's polling only 0.6%, according to the Global Info Analytics. And we'll find out from him shortly if indeed this is anything to go by, and why, or whether or not he'll be back into the race this time around. I'm talking about engineer Francis Addai-Nimoh, who is also being projected by Global Info Analytics as being one of the key names that they're considering for this race. So that's giving you a sense of where the NPP is as of today and what is happening to the political party as we speak. They certainly want to come to power. How will they do it? Will that happen soon? And should 2028 be that target for the party? Help me welcome now Engineer Francis Addai-Nimoh. How good to see you, sir.
Well, great to see you.
Happy New Year, I should say, because we've not met in quite a long time.
Yeah, the same to you.
What would you say about your party now, the New Patriotic Party? You've lost the 2024 elections, and many are wondering how to describe the party now. What would be your description of the party now?
Well, let me give a summary description. That our party, the New Patriotic Party now, is brutally injured. So once you are injured, and it's a brutal one, the recovery takes time. And it takes a lot of things to fully recover. And that is the state of the party following the elections of 2024 with that humiliating defeat. I mean, it is known, per the results, we secured 88 parliamentary seats and then 41.7% in the presidential. In terms of the parliamentary, it is only Ablikuma North which is still outstanding. But Blessed, you know what? NDC also suffered a defeat in 2016. But that defeat of the NDC was not as humiliating as ours.
Right.
And in terms of the 2016 defeat of NDC, they were able to secure 106 parliamentary seats. And that 106 parliamentary seat was spread across the then existing 10 regions.
Right.
Now, 2024, we have suffered such a defeat of 88.
Did you see that coming, by the way?
Well, to some extent, it wasn't surprising to me, and it's just the margin of it. Yeah, it wasn't surprising to me.
Yeah.
But the point I was making is that in terms of the parliamentary, as it is now, if you go by the original 10 regions of Ghana, you will notice that NPP, we do not have any parliamentary seat in 3 of the original 10 regions, which are Upper West, Upper East.
Where you used to have representation.
Yes, where you used to have representation, and then Volta region.
Right.
And then, if you analyze it now, we still don't have any seat in 4 regions. And that must be of a great concern to us, looking forward into 2028, in addition to our presidential performance. So this defeat is so brutal that it will require a lot of patience, a lot of talking, a lot of level-headedness in our recovery effort. It cannot be
business as
usual.
Definitely. And that's where you're starting off with reorganization, perhaps starting at the National Delegates Conference. What do you feel should be happening there?
Well, I mean, basically the National Delegates Conference, that's the highest decision-making body of the party. So what we are going to do come July 18th, 19th, and then 20th is basically for constitutional amendments. If you recall, in 2008, when the party lost, we had a major constitutional reform in 2009. At that time, I was in Parliament.
Right.
So, and that is the current constitution since 2009, when we made the amendment to the then constitution. That is what has been used so far till now. So which gives us how many years? Maybe 15 years. Now, after 15 years, we've noticed that, yes, we still have to make some amendments because dynamics within the political game has changed. Technology is also there. Demographics is also impacting on the operations and organization of the party. So for me, come July 19th, the major concentration will be on constitutional amendments. Following the defeat, most people are calling for a greater participation of NPP members. And so there's a need to expand the organizational structure, the polling station structure, the constituency organization, regional organization, national organization. And once you are expanding, it means you are going to bring in more people to be part in the decision, to be part of the decision-making process.
And that sounds to me like a lot of work. But instead, your political party, even before going for that conference, is deciding to announce the date for presidential primaries. Was that the best option for the political party?
Okay. First of all, let me clarify. The National Delegates Conference is not the platform or the venue for the determination of the date and venue for the conduct of presidential primaries. That one, by the Constitution, it has to be the National Executive Committee
of the party,
and then ratified by the National Council. So at the National Delegates Conference, the date for the conference is not even a subject matter for discussion.
But you know that's becoming a heated argument.
So now
in fact, so many views are coming up already. I recall speaking to Eugene Boakye, who was one of the aspirants, also telling me that, well, give some rights of decision to the delegates conference because you have quite an array of party members who are there. So must we only look at the Constitution in considering that?
No, so now I'm coming to the point. The decision of the National Council, which I would describe that decision to be a bad decision, a biased decision, and then an unreasonable decision. Because we have gone through this election, and just within 6 months, the council comes out with a decision for the conduct of presidential primaries. Why? People who are going through trauma, people who are so much pain, many of our members, the grassroots members, you meet some of them and they express their desire that they even wish they will get to the other side of the political.
Really? Is that serious?
I'm telling you, yes, because we talk to our party members at the grassroots. So that decision, for me, is bad, is biased, unnecessary. It has to be rescinded by the National Council, or it has to be put on hold, the implementation of it, so that we take our time to fix the broken.
I mean, share your views with me on this, but many say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia perhaps did not have enough time when he was elected, a period between his election primaries as opposed to that of the national election. So it gave him quite a very little time to campaign. So if you're going to change your strategy now, go for the presidential primaries first. Whoever emerges would have tentatively about 3 years to go into the race. He would have done much more campaigning. He would have been out there and perhaps may get the sympathy of Ghanaians.
Whoever comes up with that reason, it's a faulty reason. It's untenable. Did John Mahama get enough time in 2012 as flag bearer of NDC to win the 2012 general election?
Well, people will point to sympathy.
No. Look, John Mahama became president for the first time on July 24, 2012. And then in August 2012, he was made the flag bearer or the presidential candidate of NDC. So virtually he had about 3 months. But our immediate vice president, who was our flag bearer, he had been at the forefront of the party and in the nation political matters since 2008. So for how many years? 16 years. Which constituency has he never gone to campaign or to have a program? In the 276 constituency. Which one? So that reason that we should elect the flag bearer in July, in January 31st, so that the flag bearer can have sufficient time of, say, 3 years and campaign, for me, is untenable. It's a flawed one. Then we could have as well said that we should have elected the flag bearer by now.
So that he has much more time.
Yeah. Because the argument is that the constitution of the party says the National Executive Committee will determine the date and the time. And not later than 24 months to the general elections when the party is in opposition. This is the provision in the constitution. Not later than 24 months to the next general election when the party is in opposition, the flag bearer shall be elected.
So if your party is filled, and I believe the National Executive Committee of the party is filled with lawyers, astute ones, people who understand the framing of your constitution as a political party, what do you suspect might be the reasoning for which they all approved, well, maybe not all of them approved, but eventually that decision went through for an early presidential primary?
For me, he said the opinions are divided. But the division of the opinions is tilted more to the side of those who are in opposition or against the decision of the National Council. Many. And I'm pretty sure some of the National Council members themselves are not in favor of what happened in their meeting last month. They are not happy.
But if the 31st date is not working, when will it ever work for the NPP? When should
this is the issue. Per the Constitution, we lost the election just about 7 months ago.
Yes, precisely.
Okay. So we have all the way up to November or first week of December 2026 to elect the flag bearer. From December 7th, 2026 to the December 7th, 2028, that is the 24 months. So if you look at it, we shouldn't exceed it by the Constitution. Okay. So we have the whole of next year, from January 2026 to early December 2026.
And what ought to have been happening between the vacuum? I mean, pushing the date
now,
forward.
per the decision, we are told that the approach, the decision-making approach, will now be a top-down. There are two approaches, top-down or bottom-up.
Yes.
Okay. All along, we have been going by the bottom-up approach in our decision-making process, where we elect the base of the party.
The ward, constituency, regional.
And then we build on it, and then we climax it with whoever becomes the presidential candidate. So why would you want to now change that decision-making process and say you are making it top-down? But if you even look at it, then they said that, no, we will rather conduct the base first, the bottom. We'll conduct that elections first. And then when we finish that one, the intermediaries, we will circumvent all the intermediaries
and then go to
and climb to the top to elect the flag bearer. So how would you describe such a decision-making process? It is neither a top-down or a bottom-up. It is rather a mixture of top-down, bottom-up, which leads to confusion, conflict, and probably collapse. So the point is that we have January 2026 to early December 2026. We have enough time now. We're going to hold the delegates conference in the next 2 weeks to look at the various constitutional amendments and come up. Once we agree on it, now the burden goes back to the General Secretary of the party to now put the whole document together as the new amended constitution of the new patriotic party. And that administrative exercise cannot be done in just a day or a week or a month. You see, there are so many ideas which have been floated or proposed.
Yes.
And we are going to go through and then we come up with the final one. After that, the General Secretary will have to convene together with the Constitutional Review Committee to sit down and now look at the language and put everything. And now we get the new constitution. That will take us to about, for me, I foresee it will take us to about September. Before that document
will be out and ready.
Then those who want to have access, then the General Secretary can also circulate all the new amended constitution to all the 276 constituencies. So if you want to do your flag bearer, 31st January 2026, when will you open the nomination?
That's a big question. In a nutshell...
And when will you close the nomination? Go to the next stage of vetting. Have the vetting report approved. And when will qualified contestants have access to the voters list in all the 276 constituencies?
Which is usually fraught with a lot of contention, because then everybody wants to be sure who is in there. Tentatively, you'd have 6 months to do that. You believe that's not enough?
It is not enough. You know what? I have been in the game in 2014 and then 2023. 2014, the party was in opposition. 2023, the party was in government. In both situations, I was a contestant and I saw what happened. Look, maybe my brothers or other contestants who are coming in for the first time may not know. It is not that easy to traverse the length and breadth of the 276 constituencies.
In a period of 6 months.
In a period of 6 months to reach out to delegates and canvass for votes, let them know your message, your personality, that you have the qualities to lead a party and to occupy the highest office of the land. It is not that easy. I saw it in 2014 and I saw it in 2016. So you see the results. And they said in 2023, my percentage...
Yeah, we'll get down the screen
2023, even after the superdelegates, the special vote, which now we all agree that it has to be abolished, it has to be expunged from our constitution. So after that, I never went to any constituency to campaign. So those who would have naturally voted for me if they had seen me and appeared before them.
Felt you were not interested, so they gave their votes out.
Yes. So let us not dwell too much on the outcome of the 2023 primaries to suggest that somebody is way ahead and somebody is also doesn't matter in the whole game.
You do matter. You are an influential member of the NPP. And I'm just wondering, how come you're not able to impress on the party leadership to listen to all these salient points that you're raising? Well, is it the case that you are out of touch with the party? No one is listening to you or whatever it is that you're saying?
Not at all. Personally, I'm not a member of the National Council, but we have been talking to some members of the National Council, and we are telling them that, look, that decision must be rescinded. It must be put on hold. It will not be in the best interest. Rather, let us go for the constitutional amendment. Thereafter, when the amended constitution comes out, the new one, then implementation of the various activities can now begin with the polling station. Right now, Blessed, we don't know what will be the size of the electoral college. We are calling for an increase in the size of the existing electoral college, which we expanded. Some are proposing that we should go to the extreme end of the spectrum, that one man, one vote. So every card-bearing member of the party
should be allowed to vote.
In good standing. In good standing. Should participate.
You support that? That's a lot of money.
Of course, I support that. No, it means once you give the right, there must be a responsibility. So in good standing means that you must also be prepared to contribute to the funding.
And pay your dues.
And pay, yes, and contribute to the funding of the various activities. Because you cannot just come and vote.
And claim that you're a member of the NPP.
Yes. So we need to do that. Some are also calling for limited expansion. So the limited expansion, to what extent? And all these discussions are going to go on at the National Delegates Conference.
And we're hoping that the outcome will be made known to the public. But as of now, the party's decision would stand. January 31st, 2026 will be the slated date for the presidential primaries. You've been there twice. Will you go in the third time?
Look, the question that you should rather ask me, let me put it in this way.
Feel free to be a journalist then.
Yes. Is that, look, Francis or Engineer Addai-Nimoh, who will be the most suitable person that your party should present in 2028 so that you can overcome the NDC?
I see. Unfortunately for you, you won't set your own exams. You won't mark your own script.
So let's start. Now I'm turning the question.
Will you be in the race for the third time?
There's nothing. Look, I've made my ambition known to people. So it is not a hidden matter. And people know my resilience. They know who Addai-Nimoh is and the qualities that I'm made of. So let us get to that point. In any case, nomination has not opened yet.
Yes.
Okay. So those who have declared.
Yes.
Those who have declared.
Yes.
It could happen that nomination opens
and they will not.
Closes, and they will not.
No, but quite some strong names, and perhaps we might want to get those names on the screens right now. About 4 individuals now that have clearly declared that they want to contest. So we start off with some of the names. The vice president is already out there. Kennedy Ohene Japan is there. Brian Achampo, are you surprised about his decision? He's come out clearly to announce that.
Well, no, I mean, that is his personal decision.
And I believe Dr. Duchum is a good friend as well.
They are all members of the party. They were in the Akufo-Addo administration.
These are tough names, you agree? Known people within your party.
Tough names? Do you recall in 2014?
Oh, you are stronger.
You know 2014, what happened? 2014, there were 7 contestants. Okay? I was the only person who never served in J. Akufo's administration in that contest. Akufo-Addo was a minister.
Yeah, that's right.
Fremantin was a minister. Kofi Kuredu was a minister. Asamoah Boateng was a minister. Joe Gatti was a minister. Kofi Osei-Amina was a minister. Addai-Nimoh was a non-minister. But at the end of the contest, I placed 3rd. And that was surprising to them. Where did this gentleman come from?
Yeah.
And I told them that I came from within the rank and file of the party. Coming back to 2023,
yes.
You recall there are 10 contestants. Look, myself and Kwabena J. Japan, and then maybe Kojo Nsafo-Apoku, who were not part of the government. The rest of the other 7, they were all part of the government. But at the end, when we went for the shortlisting, Addai-Nimoh was not shortlisted out. I was still in the game and went to the end. But the reason is that, as I told you, after the special delegates elections, which is the super delegates, look, I decided that I wasn't going to campaign in any constituency because already the scheme was that it was going in favor of Dr. Bawo.
Right.
I never withdrew from the contest. I said, no, I must get to the finishing line of the race. But I won't go and campaign in any constituency. Many people called on me. I said, no. So those who voted for me in 2023, where they voted out of their natural admiration that they have for Addai.
It appears some of your colleagues were not able to take that. The fact that perhaps, as you're saying, the items were skewed based on your own words towards the vice president. Some like Alan Kojo-Trematin had to leave the party. You feel it's time to bring everybody back, draw everyone back to the...
Well, that was a personal decision Alan took at that time, looking at the circumstances of the party. And of course, I know it also impacted on the performance of the party in the 2024 elections, of course. There's a call that we need to bring everybody back. And so let's see what happens.
Should Alan return to the party?
Well, that would be great if he decides so. I have not spoken with him about that. He resigned. He went to form Movement for Change. I don't know his next political decision.
But if he has the opportunity, you would...
Well, if he decides that he wants to...
Okay. Have you heard about the Global Info Analytics polling? They are out already assessing some of the names they've heard. It appears they've heard about your name, which means that indeed they believe you are in the race, you are likely to come into the race, except to say that when it comes to their ranking of how they believe you would perform in the next presidential primaries of the NPP, they feel that, well, some party members, some delegates, or some Ghanaians may not necessarily want you to be on the top spot, so you may not emerge as the next presidential candidate of the NPP. What do you say to that?
Musa Dankwa at it again. That's Musa Dankwa at it again. So he has started. He even started sometime in April, which for me, I found it unnecessary. I mean, we've just finished election. And then less than 6 months, you came out, oh, these are the candidates who are going to run for NPP flag bearership race. How?
But these names are out there, isn't it?
Musa Dankwa wants to set
Kennedy Japan, no
in the last race.
Former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has declared. You would only take out, say, Patrick Yaw-Obama, who may not be on that list.
Let's say them for your cherished viewers. Look, the last primaries, who were the last four? Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, Usefri Yakutu, and Addai-Nimoh.
Yes.
So if Musa Dankwa wants to do a pool find out.
And this was the last time the NPP went for some prime. So you're featuring in there.
Yes. So he could reach out to Dr. Usefri Yakutu and reach out to myself.
To find out if you're back in the race.
Yes, if you are still going to back in the race or not. But no. So he's just doing his work.
But you're telling us that you're coming back into the race, isn't it?
But myself?
Yes.
Yes, my ambition is still on course. That's why I've told you that I've not hidden my ambition. And people know it. So
it's an open secret that Engineer Addai-Nimoh will be in the race. Global Info Analytics could just go out there and say, well, we know he'll be back in the race. What do you think about it?
I've not
Take a look at what's happening. 52.6%, except that the Vice President is dropping slightly, he will still lead by their projection.
Look, in 2023, Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa, came out with several polls as he's doing now. Even he didn't even count me in at all. He didn't count me.
In the last one?
Yes. Yes, that is why I'm saying that he's at it again. He wants to set up a political agenda for the new patriotic party. He's setting up an agenda for the party. So that, look, there are only 4 people in the race. So look at only the 4. But that is why I pose a question that, ask me, who will be the most suitable person that the party can present and overcome the NDC in 2028?
And not who is likely to win more of the votes?
No.
That's a critical question you're asking.
Yes.
In that case, what would be your response then to your own question?
My response? Well, if they have to do the SWOT analysis, that will come in. So you put all of us, we are maybe 7, 8, 9.
Let me use the last 4, since you want to go with the benchmarking of the last 4 in the last presidential primaries. Dr. Freya Kutu, I'm not sure he's coming back to the race.
don't know.
Well, I'm saying that because I've not seen signs. So, forgive me, Dr. Kutu, if you come back into the race, definitely just let us know. Kennedy Japan is in there. You have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And then if we are striking Dr. Usefri out, you are coming third using the baseline of the last election.
Yes.
Is that where you stand, or you would ultimately become the winner?
So you can do the SWOT on all of us,
Right,
and see to determine who is the most suitable person. Okay? So once you do the SWOT, it is
your biggest consideration, first of all.
my biggest consideration. 2023, I said we needed a new face for the party. And I'm sure, I recall you had an
interview, yes.
I said we needed a new face because if we picked anybody from the then Akufo-Addo's administration as a flag bearer, the party wasn't going to win the election. And so we are back to 2025 and going into 2026. I still insist the party needs a new face, an unblemished character, a unifying character for the party now, so that we can pull all members together.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is obviously not a new face.
No, he was part of the Akufo-Addo's administration as vice president. Kennedy Agyapong was part of Akufo-Addo's administration as board chairman for Ghana Gas.
He often says, I wasn't a government appointee. You've heard him make that out.
He was a government appointee. Right. He should not. If he has done public administration, as I have done, if he was a board chairman, he was responsible for policy decisions of Ghana Gas within the period that he was a board chairman. So he can't say that he wasn't a government. It is the president who appointed him to be the board chairman. So they all served in the administration. And I made a strong argument that we needed someone who was not part of the administration, so that he is seen as a new face, so that all the negativities associated with the administration, at least he could be pardoned not to be part of that. And once he can advance his argument to the Ghanaian people and endear himself to the Ghanaian people, yes, maybe we will find that person overcoming the NDC to win the election. So we are back to the same point now. And so I still insist and advocate that, look, party members within the rank and file members of the party, we are going into 2028 elections. It is not an easy election for the party. And so NDC will come with a new face. Okay? We will need a strong new face appealing to the Ghanaian people. Then we can be on a good grounds with a strong party machinery. All this that I'm saying is not just one person who can take the party to victory. We need a strong party machinery.
But it should be led by a new face.
Of course.
If there's arguably a response to that, it might be coming through from the vice president, the former vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia himself, who puts it this way, that in our political history, there's no one-time candidate or one-term candidate who has ever risen to the top by winning a general elections in this country.
John Mahama did it in 2012.
Really?
That was his first attempt. That was the first attempt of John Mahama in 2012. So that argument is flawed. He won it within 4 months or 3 months of campaign.
Incumbency advantage, you don't want to take that out?
But we were also in government in 2024. He was a sitting vice president. He had been at the forefront. 2008, he campaigned in the country. 2012, he campaigned throughout. 2016, he campaigned. 2020, he campaigned. So for 16 years. That is why I said, which community or which constituency that one can say Dr. Bawumia never went to that constituency for any program?
Engineer Addai-Nimoh, the point is that if you're looking at the projections and the figures you've ever pulled, we can confidently say, even going with the 2023 projections, that you're still third in line to become the next successor to the NPP thrown for presidential primaries. So if that's the case, and you get a deal, for instance, from the Bawumia campaign, asking you, Engineer Addai-Nimoh, to be, say, the next running mate, at least, to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, would you take that deal and abandon your plans to become leader of the NPP? At least you know that there are two more people before you going by the last election results, Kennedy Agyapong and the vice president himself. So the vice president says, well, I want to consider you for a VP role.
This is a premature question.
It could come up. You're a politician. You never say never.
Look, my ambition is to lead the party.
Not as a running mate?
That is my ambition, is to lead the party and to run for the office.
And you're consistent with that message. Many may not know you, and you're making that argument largely because, well, I wasn't a government appointee.
Yes.
What competencies, what do you bring on board that makes you so confident that amongst all these former appointees who many would say they're vexed in public administration, they've run the country before, what are you bringing on board differently that will give that confidence to the members of the party?
I have both private and public administration background, okay? I have fiscal science and social science background, okay, as far as administration management is concerned, okay? I studied professionally as civil engineer from Care University, and then with a public administration as my master's program. I've been a civil servant before. I've worked as a civil servant. You can check my record from the Ministry of Roads and Highways.
Right.
You can check my record. When I was there, the whole road network in the country, the entire road network in the country, I was undertaking monitoring and evaluation of all government of Ghana funded projects. So it exposed me to how the country looks like. In the early 2000s, I knew how the country looks like. So this is the background I am coming with. I've been an MP before, okay? I've been a grassroots person before, okay? In leadership, in knowledge, in communication. These are attributes I also possess that I can bring on board, okay? And we need integrity. In leadership, you need integrity, you need humility. Integrity to the extent that most people can vouch for you, and this person, we can trust him for that. And I believe I possess that attribute. In humility, you must also have that natural, not a fake one. Okay. So if I come to you and you know that I'm faking to you, that is not natural of Addai-Nimoh. You notice it. Because you even see it in my communication with you. You notice it. And that is how I am. So at this point in time, these two ingredients, qualities, are needed in whoever will lead the party with the aim of securing victory in 2028.
There's a big debate now about what delegates should be interested in as to whether or not your party needs a rich candidate or a candidate with rich ideas. Where do you stand? Are you the next Alan Cash, if I could use that word? Are you carrying so much cash, or you're rich in ideas? Where do you stand in that whole debate?
No, Blessed is...
Because the party needs money.
It's very funny for me. I tell you, the party needs money. But you know how the party was funding itself from 1992 onwards? It is the members of the party themselves. They were paying their dues, making contribution. What I have known, and it is a fact, is that in NPP, anybody who comes into the contest with the mindset that I possess the financial capacity above all the rest, and with my financial capacity, I'm going to use it to secure the flag bearership, you will not win. I've seen it. It happened in 1998 at Sunyane, between J. Kufuor and Nana Akufo-Addo. It happened in 2007 at Legon, between the then 17 contestants, particularly between Alan Tremantin and Nana Akufo-Addo. Then, let me see, even in 2023.
Money was a big deal.
Yes, and you know what happened?
So was that why you lost it?
No. Even the monocracy or the monetization in 2023, allow me to say, when the process was beginning, and if my brother Kennedy Japan is here, I will attribute it to him. You don't come in and say, I have the money, I'm richer than all the rest, and I'm going to...
Yeah, but if he has the cash, why not? I mean,
yes,
if I have the cash,
yes.
I would go out and say, I have the cash, I have proven track record. In fact, he adds that he's created so many jobs in this country.
Well, we're talking about having fiscal cash.
Yeah, but the cash must. I'll tell you why I'm asking the question. The last CDD research is pointing out that if you want to be president in this country, you need not less than 100 million United States dollars.
But that money will not come from you personally.
But you still need some good amounts of that money coming from you.
When you have secured the flag bearership, okay, it is now the party.
Would anyone not be naive to say that a political party does not need cash in this present political system that we find ourselves?
I'm not saying political party.
So which one do you need? A party candidate with so much money to canvass for votes for you, or the rich ideas? Because mind you still have many people in your party with rich ideas.
I do not want to look at these two points that you are giving.
Yeah, but it's important. Which one are you coming with? Cash or ideas?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'll come with both.
Both the cash?
Yes. Optimum.
Right.
Okay? When we talk about the cash, it's not cash in abundance. We talk about cash optimum. What you need to do the work and make sure that you reach out to voters, and then they will have the admiration for you, and they will look at your ideas, how you are, whether the office that you are seeking to occupy, you qualify to occupy it, you are fit to occupy it, and then you can deliver if you are given the chance to do so. And so I'll take you back a little bit, that in NPP, anybody who has run for the flag bearership with the notion that he is the richest person amongst the candidates will never win. It has happened, and I was giving you all the instances. So coming to the next flag bearer election, so if somebody thinks that he has the money, to display around, to let delegates feel that, look, I have the money, I possess the money, come and I'll beat all of you. They are also reasonable people. They are rational, they are reasonable. They are not going to assess you on the basis of monetary consideration alone.
Okay.
So they will look at your ideas, they will look at your optimum level of financing. And your optimum level of financing is not something that should...
Let's try and do this quickly because we just have a few more minutes to go. Quick issues to touch on. 2028, next timeline for the next presidential elections. Is that ample time enough for the NPP to come back? Do you feel, honestly, that the party can come back in 2028? Some say, go beyond 2028, take your time, reorganize, and come probably in 2032.
I disagree with that leg of it. But I think 2028 is still ample time for the party to come back. And you know why I'm deriving my strength on this point? How was NDC able to make such a strong comeback in 2020 when they got 106?
2024, you mean? Yes.
No, 2020.
2020, right. Oh, okay. Closing the gap first.
Yes.
Hang Parliament.
Yes.
And then now.
2020, look at the defeat the NDC suffered. Yet they were able to come to the point of even winning the presidential in 2020. For the parliamentary, it was a hung parliament, 137. So it is also MPP can achieve it.
You mean to say 2024, winning the 2024 presidential?
No, 2028.
Yeah, okay, right.
2028.
Yes, for your...
So with our state now, the state of the party now, with the defeat and the kinds of things happening, if we are calm, and
something could happen.
We reorganize well, we can overcome what has happened.
For the sake of time, one more issue before we touch on one national issue of interest. Let's talk about the two former presidents. These are the track records you have to campaign on. How much, and the immediate past is former president Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, how much of a burden or responsibility do you feel he owes the NPP in making you come back to power?
You mean Nana Akufo-Addo?
Yeah.
Well, it is an open secret. And so I believe that at a point in time, he will do the needful.
Which is?
Well, he will have to address the party. Maybe at the National Delegates Conference, who knows? I don't know. Maybe he will address the party, and then whatever he has to convey to the rank and file of the party members, he will do so.
Which should include an apology, as many of you say.
Once it is necessary, then he can do it.
Yeah, but he's done his bit for the party, isn't it? Has the highest endorsement, brought one of the biggest votes for the NPP. That's nothing to write home about, do you say?
But you have to look at the end results. The beginning was high, how did the end come? So the assessment will be based from the beginning to the end, and then we see the end result.
Okay, I cannot end without asking you about some key national issues happening. People have been dismissed. There's a process also running for the Chief Justice. And according to the chairperson of the NDC, the research should also affect the Electoral Commission chairpersons.
Well, the NDC campaign on the reset agenda, okay? So they are calling for institutional resetting, not personal resetting, institutional resetting. So wherever they think they find it expedient to do so, and that will inure to the benefit of the entire country, yes.
You support it?
They will have, because at the end of the day, we are looking to having better conditions of life for our people. And if we can achieve that through the resetting agenda, why not? I will encourage them to do, because if they are successful, we can also come. Why not?
This is shocking.
Why would you want to wish the failure? Because the failure of your competitor is not automatic guarantee
that you'd win
for your success. Your success is largely depend on you.
I promise you we'll have this conversation again. Engineer Francis Addai-Nimoh, thank you for joining us and being my guest here on Upfront. I am Blessed Sugan. That's all time will allow us. We'll see you again. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com. More stories there for you. Thank you.